Going this way, guys.
A petition signed by more than 157,000 people is carried into the governor's office at the Arkansas State Capitol building. It implores Asa Hutchinson to stop what it calls the assembly line executions due to begin on Monday night.
We have a delivery for the governor.
Okay.
The governor argues the state has no choice. One of the drugs used to kill the men reaches its expiration date at the end of April.
It's time for that justice to be carried out.
Several lawsuits are being fought. Lawyers argue that setting a kill-by date for so many prisoners at such short notice contravenes their constitutional rights to due process. Hearings are being rushed, and lawyers who represent multiple prisoners can't do their jobs.
You could have an attorney watching one execution while another client is trying to get his attention.
Then there's the constitutional prohibition on cruel and unusual punishment. The plan was for two men to be executed at a time, one at 7 p.m., the other at 8:15. First, they'll be injected with a sedative called midazolam. It's already been linked to several botched executions. Lawyers argue the pace of the killings increases the risk that the prisoners will effectively be tortured to death.
Suffering deaths that are likened to being burned alive.
The supplier of one of the other drugs to be used is also sued. It says the state had said the drug would be used for medical purposes. But polls show a majority of Arkansans favor the death penalty. Rebecca Petty's daughter was murdered. The man convicted of killing her is on death row. They're not scheduled to be executed.
She was raped and she was then brutally strangled to death. Her killer then went back to his father's house and had coffee. Then I'm asked questions like, well, what is cruel and unusual?
She says the men due to be executed have had decades to argue their case. The executions can't be described as rushed. And she dismisses a Harvard Law School investigation that found the prisoners received inadequate legal representation and that several are mentally ill. She says that's just lawyers playing for time. Petty tells a story of what a man who saw his son's killer executed told her.
Don't let anybody tell you that that won't bring you closure, because if you're anything at all like me, that'll be the best night of sleep that you'll have.
I know how hard it is.
Back at the rally at the Capitol, Judith Elaine disagrees. Her brother was murdered in 1968, but she sees no point in executing his killer.
All that the death penalty does, in my view, is make more victims. There's no closure.
The U.S. Supreme Court is due to hear oral arguments about whether one of the first men scheduled to die was denied access to independent mental health experts during his trial. But that hearing will begin a week after his scheduled execution. Shihab, Rattansi, Jazeera, Little Rock, Arkansas.